Good evening, folks. Welcome to another scene in Darkness in Dublin. It's a mage scene. We've got a couple of PCs here who are hoping to talk about traditional things, if you know what I mean. Um, Opens up pretty simply. Finley is trying to get a hold of Christina Spanos. I keep butchering the pronunciation there. Um, Safe to assume they decide to meet up at a coffee shop or something of that variety.
Yep. We say it's, about time for afternoon tea for Christina. So yeah, coffee shop or tea place would be good for her.
Tea place works. Less wish to get caffeine. Except tea has more caffeine. Great, but it'll work out. Um, Finley will show up, dressed pretty much as normal, and he shows up maybe a couple minutes shy of whenever they're supposed to meet up there. Not that it's super formal or anything.
Yeah, she's dressed about like she is in the overlay. Uh yeah. She likes her sweaters.
Sweaters are awesome.
And I imagine that it's probably cold in Dublin right now, so sweaters are warranted. Um
Evan, what's the weather like?
It's raining. It hasn't stopped raining.
Darn it!
okay, so it's raining. She's still
Even
wearing a
better.
sweater. Because rain means cold. So,
Just don't make big gaps in the rain cloud. That tends to piss people off.
So she's already there. She's got her cup of tea. She's sitting down at a table. She'll notice Finley come in and she'll smile.
And he'll kind of wave a little bit. I'm actually going to have him burn a willpower to not get caffeine this time. And he will simply grab a water and pay for it and then head over to join her.
Hello, Finley.
Christina had well, he looks around. There's presumably not too many people within earshot or anything, but he's still going to be careful about what he says.
Yeah, she chose somewhere that's kind of out of the way.
Oh,
Like,
good. Okay.
we'll just go over here in this dark corner that's not sus as fuck. Uh,
Exactly. Don't mind us over here. We're not quest NPCs or anything.
no.
Anyways, he'll say, so this might seem a little out of the blue, but I work with well, you know who I work for. You know who I work for.
Remind me.
The first shadow.
She nods.
Yeah, he was at the meeting. So thing is, I'm not actually part of his group, shall we say. I got a very limited listing of what groups there are. And some of them, let's just say I'm not sure how much longer I can keep going without belonging to another group or having some people I can actually ask questions of, I suppose. The Hermetics, I think they regard me as too much of a liability at this point. The
Because you're not
obviously, sorry, go ahead.
actually affiliated with
Hmm?
And she said because you're not actually affiliated with them.
That's fair. I can't say I've actually asked to join them or anything, but my gut impression is that would not end too well. Plus, they seem a little too structured, if that makes any sense.
All right. So
I
tell me,
sorry, go ahead. I keep talking over you. I'm
what
sorry.
you. Oh, it's okay. Tell me what you actually believe. Like you as a person. Never mind everything else. You as a person. What are your core beliefs?
At its heart, magic works because people believe it works. I've seen people do things, the same trick 3 different ways. It doesn't seem to be any more or less effective. It's just based on how much experience that person has doing it. I haven't noticed any real differences. Just because that one lady knows how to throw fireballs doesn't mean that someone else couldn't do it, or Alan might be able to make something like that if he came up with something similar to a flamethrower. But not even sure that would count as being magical. But I mean, neither here nor there. Point is, the same destination can be reached by any of the different roads. My own personal belief, the way that I do things that's comfortable for me, he pulls out a spell book. It looks like it could be a spell book. It's a very nice old book. Trouble is, when he opens it, he'll say, "I'm willing to bet you don't see anything but smudges and scribbles on this." Which, see, that's apparently what everyone sees when they look at it.
She'll look at it.
Confirmation, Evan, it still looks like absolute gibberish to everyone else.
It looks like a child with special needs just went to town on it with crayon.
Yeah, she smiles and nods and hands it back. Like, yeah, I can't read it.
Yeah, well, for me, it doesn't look anything like what people have described. It's a series of fairly simple, but not as childish as it's being described, simple effects. It came that way. I was given that. It had 9 what I would consider spells already in them, each with instructions on how to perform them. Fairly simple. Gestures, words, different methods. I'm not sure how to describe this, but I see things through a mystical perspective, but that doesn't mean it's the only thing out there. I'm comfortable doing magic with, I guess you would say, if I knew a little more about runes, I'd do something with that. I keep hearing people from the Hermetics speaking that weird language. I don't know what that is.
She kind of, at the mention of Hermetics, she kind of narrows her eyes a little bit, like, Hermetics.
Yeah, exactly.
Hermetics.
I get part of the reason I'm not leaning in that direction, in all honesty, is I get the feeling that if I went that direction, there would come a point where they would simply tell me my way is wrong because it's not their way. And
of course. That's the way that they are.
No. I don't think they mean any harm by it necessarily. It's just their...
She kind of like rolls her eyes and tilts her head from side to side, like, yeah, okay, whatever.
They're quite proud of their accomplishments. That's obvious.
I guarantee you they haven't accomplished as much as they would lead you to believe.
Fair. Now, this part I've only been told a little bit about your group, and most of it is hearsay, so I can't permission to speak frankly, because bear in mind, this is an outsider's perspective given from someone else.
Well, I can tell you that from what you've already told me, your beliefs align with our tradition.
Well, that's kind of what I was hoping to find out. I'll be honest, I did a stint of, he uses air quotes, exploring when I was younger. I've been to a couple neo-pagan gatherings and such, but I never got too deeply into it.
We're a little deeper than that, but it's not far off.
So kind of like the same difference between what, again, not to keep using them as a demonstration, but I've been around them a couple times. It's the same difference between what you are different to the neo-pagans as the Hermetics are to, I don't know, a D&D wizard or something.
Precisely.
Similar concept, but much more to it.
Precisely. There's much to be discovered, to be figured out. But I enjoy the journey. And you already keep a spell book, which a lot of our tradition do call it a book of shadows.
Well, I mean, this one was made out of spider webs, but close enough. It does not look like it's made out of spider webs, by the way. He keeps saying this.
It's called a book of shadows because it's where we keep our secrets, and you seem to have one that encrypts itself, which is not a bad thing at all.
It's probably going to come in handy at some point.
Yes. That is an accurate speculation.
So, other than the little bits I've heard, though, I don't know much else about your folk, and I know there's only so much people are willing to tell other factions about themselves. Sorry, but is there any leeway granted for someone who is considering joining?
I can give you basic ideas. It's think of how witchcraft once was, the old ways, the old gods. That is where we derive from and what we still try to embody.
I'm not a history buff, but just from what little bits I've heard, the core mythos for much of that is a lot darker than people tend to accept. Less hocus pocus, and more, you know.
Exactly. And though people would like to believe that we have devolved into hocus pocus, so to speak, that's not what we're about. There has to be a balance between the light and the dark.
Does everyone in your group serve one or the other, or is there or are you saying there are people on both sides?
Well, there are people on both sides. Some of the darker ones tend to be more extreme. To lower her voice, they're the ones that tend to do human sacrifices, which I do not believe in doing.
There's that quick like aside where he's thinking, I think my mentor might actually probably could be pushed in that direction. Gonna have to keep her away from that. He doesn't say that. He's just thinking it like, yeah, Katrina might encourage that. Bad idea. Okay.
Animal sacrifices, on the other hand, is within my purview.
Though, to be fair, I mean, there is a difference between ritual sacrifice and someone sacrificing their life to protect others. There is a difference there.
Of course, I meant in ritual sacrifice.
There aren't very many of your people in the city, though, are there? I've pretty much only met you.
They don't come out often, no. I'm one of the more social members of our tradition.
Not much for city living, or is that just this area?
It's, we can be a rather secretive tradition.
I can understand that.
Especially those that look at us and just see, for lack of a better term, tree-hugging hippies. They don't take us seriously, but that is their mistake. We are much more powerful than they give us credit for.
Which brings me to the other aspect. I don't know what the moral stance of your tradition is, but without going too much into details, because, well, it gets kind of into client confidentiality, shall we say.
He nods.
Suffice to say, I don't have the cleanest past. I'm not some random thug from the streets or anything of that nature. But I have
your
sorry.
Your past doesn't matter. All that matters is, how do you see your future? And if you do join us, what can you bring? How will you enhance our tradition? How will you help us further our cause?
Well, from what I've been told, there's virtually no tradition out there that doesn't at some point require someone who understands finances.
She'll kind of chuckle and shrug her shoulders and, yeah, okay.
I mean, even if you only come into the city on, once every blue moon or something, there's still going to be times when you need someone who knows their way around that sort of thing. Maybe, just to field an example, maybe there's a specific park or something that is slated to be demolished and you want to make sure it doesn't happen, but, you don't have the money to buy the property or something. Sometimes there are cleaner ways to get things done.
Essentially, the core of our beliefs is we believe that magic is in everything. And as you said, that it exists if you believe in it. Magic works because we believe it works. We try to preserve the old ways. There are some more extreme that refuse to live in cities at all, refuse to use modern technology and things of that sort. I'm not one of those, but I do have an interest in preserving nature and respecting it because it is where we derive our magic. The life force flows through everything.
That's understandable. I understand what you mean about there being magic in everything because, well, as you remember from our time studying together, from what I've learned about spirits, there's spirits in almost everything.
She nods.
And even human concepts have spirits.
And you go
my. This one might be as much of a dunce as he seems. Fluff, fluff, fluff.
Christina chuckles at Archimedes.
Wait, was that might be or might not be?
He might not be.
Oh, okay.
For the record, the owl was asleep in a backpack.
She says to Archimedes, I know, that's why I'm sitting here talking to him. If I
For the
thought he
record,
was a
there is an
dunce, we
owl
wouldn't be
that's
sitting here in
there
this
is an
in
owl
this
that's
shop.
currently poking. There's an owl that's currently poking his head out over Christina's shoulder from a backpack.
Yep. She got her owl backpack.
Yeah, I think
Backpack.
my character met him the same night that he showed up, so he's just like,
Yep.
He's gonna blink a few times. Huh. Well, I appreciate the compliment, but as far as I'm concerned, the jury's still not out on my own skills or anything. Apparently, I'm still way behind the rest of the class.
Oh yes, I mean, if the class was to be considered studying mathematics, congratulations. You've yet to understand what 1 + 1 equals. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that there is not a glimmer of potential.
That's fair. So, all right. So far, what you're saying is encouraging. It sounds like there's some overlap at least. I may come from a somewhat different background, but as you said, that's not the whole story. So, I mean, where does one go from here? I doubt you have Sunday schools the way the hermetics or choristers do.
No Sunday schools. She just chuckles and shakes her head like, "Oh my god, no."
Yeah, he was saying it as a joke. Like again.
Well, I could. She looks to Archimedes. Suppose we could test him, have him meet.
Archimedes' attention is currently kind of fixated on the croissant that's on the table.
Mm.
Oh well, she'll pull off a piece and feed it to him.
You now have my complete and undivided attention.
Should we have him tested?
But I assume he's had his shots already.
No.
You, human,
Oh,
have you been vaccinated?
You crack me up.
Against most things.
Ah, see?
Not against the sarcasm of a certain owl, though.
I don't think there is a vaccine for that.
She scritches the top of Archimedes' head.
Oh.
I'll tell you, I have seen the most
No,
interesting
should we have him meet? She's going to be very cryptic about this. Should we have him meet? You know who?
I swear to
Voldemort.
God.
I'm not sure that we had him to meet, but
No, that's
I can clear
that's he who must not be named.
Oh, all right.
You had me worried there for a moment.
It's fine. We all know that when Voldemort existed, he would be a hermetic who went bad, like everyone else.
Does that mean there's a
But
house
she'll look at him,
Slytherin?
and the levity will drop away from his voice, and he'll say, "The question is not necessarily if he should or shouldn't, but do you think he's ready?"
He has potential, and he cannot grow without being involved.
He'll hop out of the bag and hop across the table, and he'll look up at Mr. Weiss with his head cocked to the side as only an owl can. Those two brilliant black eyes judging him.
All the judging.
He will say, "Do you understand that in order for the sun to come up, blood must be shed?"
He's going to tilt his head at that. Then he realizes this is probably metaphor, and he just nods.
What would happen in the event that blood was not shed? The owl's staring into you. Tiny black eyes. Zelda.
Oh, damn it. I was muted that whole time, wasn't I? God damn it.
Tiny black eye. Staring into you.
If I had to put it in simplest possible terms, if blood is not shed, then he's thinking of a polite way to put this. It's not as simple as the sun won't come up. I would say more, you can't get something for nothing. That's not how the world works. So if you don't give something, you're not going to get anything.
He appears to contemplate. Sorry, give me just a few moments, guys. My Skype is calling. I'll be back in a second.
The owl is pondering and pondering.
So as Christina waits for Archimedes to make a decision, she sips her tea and just kind of watches Finley. No, with not quite the same intensity as Archimedes, but
He will. Sorry, Archimedes, looking at Finlay, will say, "You misunderstand the key principle. It is not about the trade of blood for action, because in the event that blood is not spilled for the sun to come up, a mere ball of luminous gas will illuminate the world. Do you understand the difference?"
Yes, people would. This is actually something I said before I muted myself. It wouldn't be the same. There would be less power to it. Did that go through, or?
He will nod and he will say, I still do not think that you grasp the metaphor, but there is potential.
Enigma's 0.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, no. He will...
Understood it
Oh, you're
was
gonna have to
metaphor.
fix that.
Understood it was metaphor.
He will hop back into the bag. He will hop to the table. He'll hop up on Christina's shoulder, and then he'll hop into the bag. And he'll say,
I was going to say, I could make a... Well, no, it's a knowledge check. I can't do those untrained, can I?
Nope.
Nope.
Enigmas, that one knowledge no one ever takes, but everyone should take at least a dot of. You will live longer.
Oh no, I always take a dot of enigmas because I learned that lesson the hard way. Yep.
All right.
Everyone.
So the bird from inside the backpack, coincidentally, you'll hear the zip noise. The backpack zips itself up. He'll say, "What would you wish?"
All right.
Well, not the most startling vote of confidence, but I mean, it's potential. I'll still take that.
There's only one way to find out if you're worthy, so let's go. And she'll finish her cup of tea and leave her cup on the table with a tip for the server.
And he will follow.
Okay. will lead him to the appropriate location.
Okay. For the record, the correct location is inside the Dublin Botanical Gardens.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, as they're walking through the botanical garden, she'll kind of slow down just a little bit, taking everything in because she really does adore all the plant life there. And yeah, they'll eventually arrive where they're supposed to.
Okay. Solon, in front of you stands a great old oak tree that stands at the center of the botanical gardens, hugely gnarled. You guess it must be a good 15 to 20 feet across. It's across its center. And it seems to you to be very, very out of place, almost, in the sense that it is surrounded by tropical plants, plants from every which way around the world, but it seems different. Just appears to be, if a plant could look at you, it is looking upon you.
Just gonna look at it. Look around. I get the impression this garden was built around this tree instead of, anything else.
It is in the
park.
center of the garden, yes.
Yeah, it's older than the park.
You will hear whispered on the breeze, practically. Both Christina and Finlay will hear, "Who comes before?"
Christina will speak first. Christina Spanos, I come with one who might be worthy of joining us.
You hear, once again, the rustle of the wind as it whips through the leaves. And you see the tree itself, you see it crack open at the center. And from the crack, it opens and widens until it would be just large enough for a person to fit through.
That's impressive.
Christina just kind of cracks a little bit of a smile. A motion for Finlay to...
OC, it's definitely more impressive than, let me just step out to the veranda. Now that's drama.
Oh, that was a damn impressive veranda.
Oh yes, once you got there, it's just the transfer was more seamless in that regard. In this case, there's more circumstance and pomp behind it.
Yes, because I mean, Verbena do have to be a little dramatic, and I love it. So,
well, he'll wait for her to lead the way and then head in.
Yep, she will step into the tree and motion for him to follow.
He does.
The tree itself will seal itself closed behind you. You will hear the sound as the wood reknits, the great sound of the cracking and the creaking. And you stand within a very warm aperture. It is not as if you stand in a humid interior of a living thing, but as if you have instead stepped inside a home or a house. You see that there is a fire burning, and you see a great fire, a great central bonfire blaze, and you see in a high-backed chair with two lanterns hanging one on each side of it, the pictured individual who is looking at you from under his cowled and hooded cloak. You see the various pieces of objet d'art and aficionat that hang from all over him as he regards you silent and watchful.
Do I get what kind of resonance am I getting off of this guy? Like the Archbishop gave like, oh God, all that power.
I am divine as summer, and I am as terrible as winter.
So primordial and seasonal.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably with equal, if maybe even greater magnitude than the Archbishop.
Mentally, he's pretty much thinking, and just when I thought it couldn't be topped.
For the record, Archimedes will unzip himself. It's a thing he does. And he will hop down onto the floor, and as near as a bird can, he will bow.
Christina will bow as well and kind of elbow Finley to do the same.
Finley doesn't need encouraged for that. He's got etiquette.
Okay, good.
The figure very deftly moves its hand and sigils you to rise with a single upward gesture as he says, "Why is it that the lost have come to be found? And why is it that they seek what they never knew that they desire?" For the record, he's not speaking in English. He's speaking in a much more twisted, you assume it's a Gallic tongue, but it resonates inside your head.
So like automatic translation effectively?
Essentially, yes.
Does this appear to be directed at Christina, me, or the heir?
It's a general question. He's not really looking at anyone when he says it.
What was the question? Sorry.
He said, "Why is it the lost have come to be found, and why is it that those who never knew what they seek now seek us?"
Finley seems to be waiting to see if Christina's got a plan for addressing this or if she's looking at him to say something.
Yeah, she's looking at him like, "Hey, answer the man."
Okay. He seems fairly nervous. Because he doesn't know what to think about this guy. He didn't know this guy existed. He'll just say, I'm trying to think how you would phrase this. He's not going to try and be as eloquent because that's not what he can do. I come hoping to learn, and I understand that knowledge will have a price, though I don't know what that price is. If there are ways I can recompense for learning and belonging.
You speak. He will raise his hand and he will say, "You speak of price, but do not know value. You speak of trading, but do not know what it is you seek." He will very, very slowly, not stiffly, but slowly stand from his chair, and you will see the chair turns to dust behind him as he stands up. And he will say, "I give the wood to the fire, and so the fire burns. However, the wood is taken in payment. Do you seek to be the wood, Finlay Weiss, or the fire?
Again, no enigmas, but there's no way to make an intelligence roll in this without enigmas. Dang it. Shit. From the sound of it, it sounds like what he's saying is either be offered up as sacrifice in the case of the wood, or be the fire that consumes. He's going to try and parse that and say, he'll very cautiously say, I am not sure I understand the meaning, but I believe the fire. As I have
There is
the dust.
There is an audible sigh as he says, "It is because of ignorance that mankind falls. So saying what you believe sometimes is not good enough. Saying the truth, even when it is obscured by ignorance, is, however, a greater toil." He will very deftly, you will see his hand go to his belt, and he will draw a long, thin sickle dagger. And he will turn back and he will say, "If I asked you to cut out your heart and throw it upon the fire so that there would be another dawn, would you do so?" Solon, you're muted again, I think.
Ah, damn it. Sorry. Thank you for saying that.
No worries.
I'm not even rolling manipulation subterfuge to hide the reaction here. There is fear in that. Like the, oh crap, I did not come here to die today. But in light of the previous metaphors made, he's thinking, if that was what was necessary, then, and if I thought that my sacrifice would actually make that difference, then I would.
There is another deep, audible sigh as he says, "You do not understand, Mr. Weiss. No, you do not understand, Finlay Weiss. All sacrifice makes a difference. In the end, there is only the chaos that comes from the balance, and the balance that comes from the chaos. Life must be given so that life may be renewed. As the winter takes life, so the spring gifts it. As the autumn sees it."
He's not going to interrupt him, so I'll wait.
Oh, as the autumn sees it wither, so the summer sees it in all its glory.
Now, Solon just remembered that his character actually does have neo-pagan belief systems on his sheet. So this is something I'm going to double check with Evan here. I could make a roll if he wants me to. Isn't there something about a sacrifice that's made in ignorance doesn't have the same effect or potency? Like, you have to know what you're giving up. You have to understand the purpose behind it. Just blindly throwing something into the fire is not valid in most neo.
Yes, I mean this is the reason why in Celtic Druidism all the sacrifices were volunteers.
Exactly,
as we can tell.
Okay. He's going to try and explain, or not explain, because this guy already knows all that shit. Just to be like, I understand that I don't know at this point. I would like to learn, but I A sacrifice given without knowledge of what it entails or of what one is giving up is not a true sacrifice. I know very little right now.
We are called. We will answer. Words, truths, and lies all come together in the comedy. Christina Sponos, do you hear me?
She nods. I do.
Contemplates. You'll see he stokes the fire. An actual fire poker will appear in his hand as he stokes the fire. And he will say, "Do you take this man to be your apprentice?" The word wouldn't necessarily be apprentice. It would be it would be more like novice or someone who you teach, but not necessarily as formal as an apprentice, if that makes sense.
Novice is usually the term for witches, yeah.
Yeah. You will ask, do you take him as your novice?
I do.
Do you understand all that that entails?
I do. I am responsible for him and his teaching.
There is a slight
And
nod
what he
of the
does
head.
reflects on me.
I couldn't hear that last bit. Sorry.
She said, and what he does reflects on me.
Oop.
Tenere Amana. Finlay White. Step forward.
You'll step forward.
You will see he will put you right in front of the fire, and he will basically see him. Still has the sickle blade in his hand, and he will have Christina join you by the fire. He will then start to mumble something, and this is something that won't be immediately translated. He starts to talk in very old Gaelic. You hear him say, "Nilandia isagrid, Elkianyo kena irak, Tamria atde, Kemria." He will then take your hand, Solon, and he will hold it in his for a couple of moments. For the record, he has incredibly soft hand. And then, quick as an adder, he will slice from the tip of your thumb, from the tip of your longest finger, right the way up to your wrist. With his knife, you'll take a point of lethal damage.
Can I burn a willpower to not struggle?
You can burn. You don't have to struggle. You can burn a willpower not to scream if you'd like.
You'll do that. 2 willpower. Woohoo!
He will then do the exact same thing to Christina's hand. So he will cut from top of your forefinger all the way down to your wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And he will then clasp both of your hands together. And he will hold them over the fire, and you will actually feel, it's incredibly painful, but you will feel a mark, a kind of a concentric circle being burned into the back of your hands.
Like the
Yeah,
circle.
Christina will.
Sorry, go ahead.
Christina will grit her teeth and like emit this sound of pain and agony, but she doesn't scream. It's just more of a guttural sound.
Okay. What were you asking, Solon?
To be clear, the burn is not like a random fire burn. It's almost like something's being branded, but no visible
It's like something.
cause.
It's like something's being branded. It's like a Celt. Have you ever seen the 3 Celtic circles or the 3 Celtic swirls that join together in the center?
Is it like the symbol you had when you were playing the Dagda?
Yes.
Then yes.
He will then release your hands. The mark doesn't stay, but burns brilliantly for a few moments until it passes. The cut, however, does remain. And he will say, "Welcome, in that case, brother of my sister, son of my daughter. You are as us, until it is that you shall become as nothing once again."
He's a little overwhelmed, clearly. I mean, he had pictured a lot of, shall we say, struggling for any kind of acceptance, and
It's
not like he's disappointed.
No, I will tell Christina why, because her vouching for him meant that in the event he fails, her life is forfeit. And
Yep.
they take life very seriously.
Yep.
He doesn't quite grasp that yet, because Enigma Zero. But he does get the whole she's responsible for him thing. So, but still, he's a little surprised at how quickly, he was brought in. And he's just like, he just nods. Like, he doesn't know the appropriate thing to say, so he just nods his head deeply. And he still winces a little bit.
He will say, "Finlay White, you are a man who seeks knowledge. I sense it in you. So, you may call me the Warden. Do we understand?"
He said, call him the Warden?
Yes.
Yes.
He nods.
At which point he will move his hand, and it is the room that you're in evaporates. It's as if he's pulling back a grand curtain, and you see yourself standing in a garden. This garden eclipses the Archbishop's by 1,000 times 1,000. At the center of it all stands a huge oak tree that looms high into the sky. It could be the size of a skyscraper. Golden leaves look down upon you, winking in perfect, absolute beauty and clarity. There are types of flowers here that boggle the mind. You see great herds of deer rush through glades over hills and over the dales. You see birds, magnificent in color that could break your heart by the sheer wonder of their plumage, singing melodies the likes that would make Tchaikovsky seem like a mere novice. And he will say, "Welcome to Kalhaya. Welcome to New Eden."
So essentially, whereas the Archbishop's realm is orderly gardens, like a picture of perfection, this is nature in all its untamed beauty.
You didn't actually see the Archbishop's Horizon realm. That wasn't it. It was just him having a nice garden picture, basically, that he had up.
Oh, okay.
But essentially, yes. His look like the gardens at Versailles. These look like you have wandered into some kind of great story or fairy tale. It looks like a fairy forest, essentially.
He seems very, very impressed is an understatement, to put it that way.
I will now give you your gift, Finlay Weiss. An initiation deserves a gift, after all. Do you not agree?
He looks hesitant, but how to phrase what he'd say. I would defer to experience on this one. I have received many gifts lately from many people. I believe simply being allowed to come here in the first place may have been another gift.
He will raise his hand with 3 fingers and he will say, "You step into a world, I will at least see you armed with the task. You may ask of me 3 questions that I will answer honestly and to the best of my ability." There are also 3 rules you must obey while in Kalhaya. Would you care to hear those first?
Yes.
The first rule is simple. I am the warden. What name I may have had, I gave up long ago. Though, you kind of get the hint he's smiling. You know my name, though you do not know I belong to it. You may never ask who I was. For now, whilst I am here, I am the warden.
He'll nod, understanding.
Secondly, this place is for our kind, and our kind alone. It is our gift to the cosmos. Kalhaya has stood 1,000 years, and will continue to stand long after the rest has become dust. You may never bring the uninitiated here. Am I understood, Mr. Weiss?
Completely.
And lastly, and most importantly of all, Kalhaya, whatever you take within the boundaries of this place, you must leave with. You may never leave Kalhaya with something that you have left behind, still within its boundaries, to taint its purity. That is a sin that only one has committed, and it cannot be committed again.
He'll nod.
No, sorry, that is a sin that no one yet has committed and will not be
Oh, good. I
committed.
was going to say his first question might have been, who would have dared to do that? But then he probably wouldn't ask that. So, OC, rules are, just to make sure I understand them, because Solon's flowery language is sometimes lacking. 1, don't ask who I am. 2, don't litter. Actually, that's 3. And 2 is never bring anyone here. Or did he say never tell anyone or never bring anyone? I assume both are connected.
Never bring anyone here who is not a Verbena.
Gotcha. Okay.
Though I will point out, interestingly, he did say that you knew his name, though you didn't know he belonged to it.
Yes, which he's attributing to it being cryptic, or else he's a figure from mythology. At this point, he has no idea.
But he's standing there and he will say, you possess 3 questions as your gift of benefits, as you possess them, Finley Weiss. You may ask. Actually, no, he will say you may confer with Miss Spanos as to what it is you would like to know. I'm not out of character. No, Evan has to go back.
Okay. So while he steps away for a minute, a kind of shell-shocked Finley is just going to look at you like...
It also might be important for Finlay to be made to understood exactly what you just did for him.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah, so she's going to look at Finley, and she's going to be like, before you ask her questions, I want to make something extremely clear. What I just did, I took you as my student, and I am responsible for you. The gravity of that if you fail, my life is forfeit.
No pressure. Like he's not making light of it. He's not making light of it. He's just like, really?
Yeah, she gives a smile. Like she sees that he understands the gravity of it, so she just gives a bit of a smile. Like, yeah, bitch, that's what just happened.
Okay, and since apparently he wants me to confer with you on this 3 questions. Oh wait, okay. First, what do you have any advice? I mean, I'm not so much going. Christ, I don't know. This is like, why do people keep telling me to make wishes and ask random questions?
Because to get knowledge, you have to ask.
That's true. I mean, I'm going to have 1,000,001 practical questions for you later, so I don't want to waste his time with them. No offense. This is obviously a rare thing.
But For the record, a white stag has plopped up behind Christina and is currently nuzzling her. Nuzzling.
Ah! She turns around and she glumps the stag.
Oh God.
The stag is much larger than you, so it's not knocked to the ground, but he seems to be
No.
appreciating the effect.
My friend.
Gonna say, friend of yours.
She nods. When I first came here, I sacrificed him.
Seems to be doing pretty well. I take it this place has things tend to exist in a cycle here.
She nods like, I mean, yeah.
Clearly, he's still alive.
All about the cycle.
I'll be honest, both OC and IC, Solon and Finley are both kind of like, God damn it, people keep asking me to ask things or telling me to ask things. I don't have a clue.
Perhaps there's one thing that I may not be able to fully explain to you that you might want to ask.
Well,
That
what
could
would
be
that
about the origins of the tradition.
That's an open-ended question, but I mean, I would definitely
given-
appreciate his input.
I've given you a basic overall belief, but he might have more concrete insights.
Okay, that makes one. I'm assuming he wants them. Well, I shouldn't assume anything. I should ask if he wants me to ask them all now or.
Which would use up one of your questions.
Good point! Ah, shit. That's kind of like muttered under his breath. He's like, oh. Give me one of those. There. I won't ask if you did that. Because, apparently this isn't normal. Okay, so question 1, ask about the origin of the verbena. Question 2, I don't want to ask something frivolous about things going on, and well, it's not really frivolous. You know that there's that deadline hanging over our heads now, right?
She nods.
Do you think he might be able to give some insight on that? How do you find something that can't be found under normal circumstances? It's hidden in time or something?
That is a valid question. That's a valid question you could ask. You could ask him. Yes.
Okay. I definitely don't want to be selfish about this.
You have the chance to ask 3 questions you wouldn't normally get to ask. It is the time to be selfish. Says the verbena with megalomania.
I mean, point.
Law choice.
Okay.
Hey, hang on. Because I just remember, I was reminded I could do that. Hey, Finley, you're getting excited. You're getting really excited. This is all really cool.
God damn it. I thought I was already role-playing that out, but okay.
Nope. More.
However,
now with more feeling. Oh.
God. So he's gonna like quickly count off on his fingers and be like, okay, I got one question for everyone else. I got one question that's a suggestion from you. And since I am personally at a loss for anything I could ask, he's just gonna close his eyes and be like, paging Katrina. Paging Katrina.
You get the distinct sense that she can hear you, but she it's like she's bumping off a bubble.
Shit. She's going to rip me a new one. I guarantee you, as soon as I get out of here, she's going to be like, you could have asked anything. Oh, yeah. Since you're my... well, you see, I'll be very brief because I don't want to waste anyone's time here. So, you know how we all have avatars? apparently mine likes to stop around a lot. I asked them questions. So figured she might have a suggestion. But don't think she can get in here. So
If she's not, no.
so that's not happening. She'll probably chew me out later. Damn it, seriously. OC, I'm just like, God, I'm running a blank here.
It's fine. Out of character, guys. Evan actually has to step out because he has to talk to a friend of his about something completely unrelated.
Ooh, okay.
But you can bank the questions and ask them at a later date.
Okay. Can we just continue a little bit of one-on-one role playing, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Welcome to Calhaya. It's really nice. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
On the
bye.
bright side, Lindsay, I think you might have made it to your 4 scenes for the month.
Yes. Yay!
Yay!
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Later.
Okay, bye. So she'll look at Finley and she'll say, "You don't have to ask them right now. We can come back."
Okay, good. Good. At least we got 2 out of the way. So, yeah. Just kind of look around. This is impressive and kind of I'd say unearthly, but
No, it's very earthly.
that's kind of what I'm saying here. It's just you don't see much like this anymore, which means the Earth is kind of lesser for it.
Exactly. It would almost make one sad. But she realizes she can't feel that sadness anymore. She remembers what it's like to feel sad, but she can't actually feel the sadness.
No, she can only intellectually grasp, oh yeah, I would probably feel sad about this.
Right. It might make one sad when they behold this place and then step back out to the normal world and realize what has been lost.
He just kind of thinks about that for a second. Never know. This age, so to speak, might come again. It's just, I mean, I don't know.
believe one day, probably not in our lifetime,
very unlikely.
one day the earth will cleanse itself and all will be right again.
That's definitely something that could happen. Hopefully. And maybe what we do will set the seeds for that.
Indeed. That's
So,
part of what we're about.
weird question. This is more of a you question. Okay, so I don't really have much, he uses air quotes again, oomph, for lack of a better word, when it comes to, awakened things. I'm still definitely in the kiddie end of the pool.
She nods.
From what I've understood, I have a basic grasp of all 9 of the so-called spheres, which is apparently kind of rare.
That is very good. I don't even have that. I've focused on the spheres that resonate with me. So I have a intermediate knowledge of 6 of them.
I don't even know if I could say one in particular is, well, more of a focus for me or anything, but
I'll tell you one thing. Now that you are a novice of the Verbena, life and spirit is going to resonate with you more.
Well, I know a little bit about both of those, and as you know, I have a good amount of knowledge about spirits now.
She nods.
That's knowledge without the actual experience to handle it properly is probably a lot more dangerous than having no knowledge at all.
Indeed. I have a bit of knowledge of spirits, but you now have more than I do, so we will work well together.
Well, we will have to see what happens. So I take it at this point I should identify myself as I am. And if anyone is my being your novice, that's not a secret or anything?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if it's not clear, I'm definitely going to try my absolute best not to get you killed.
I would appreciate that, yes. I would like to stay alive. I have much work to do
Well,
on this
to be
earth.
fair, it's probably a safe bet that I die probably like a short period before you or afterwards. So yeah.
Probably.
Mutual preservation is a thing now.
But honestly, if I thought you were going to get me killed, I wouldn't have taken you on as my protege.
And I appreciate that. Trust me. You're showing more confidence in my abilities than a lot of people so far.
And I have much confidence in my teaching abilities.
That's also true. That's fair. Megalomania, people.
Like, I don't care. Like, she's like, I don't care about, what you do. I care, I have confidence in myself. You're not going to fail because I said so. Like,
anyone. I
can make anyone a Verbena.
I could have taught a technocrat and it would have still worked because it's me. Anyways.
Exactly.
But yeah, he's just going to look around and say, well, I have an idea. If I'm going to have a selfish question, this is an open-ended one, but tell me what you think of this one. I'm like I said, I'm trying not to be selfish here. I've got one question that could help the city. I've got one question that's your suggestion because you think it'll help me. And for myself, obviously, I mean, he's here. I'm assuming he knows a lot about spirits. You said that's part of what the Verbena do also. That and life.
Indeed.
I think I could, even though I know a lot about spirits in general, perhaps I could ask him. Well, no, I was about to say I'd ask him for a name of a specific spirit, but one, I wouldn't be able to contact it for quite some time, I'm afraid. And two, a name might not do me too much good. I definitely do not intend on doing that whole binding thing that I read about. That seems a very aggressive way to deal with spirits.
It can be. You can, with enough knowledge, you can convince a spirit to be willingly bound for a time. It's making a deal with it, basically.
That part I understand. That's investing a piece of its power. I can understand that. It's more... Sorry, go ahead.
What specific spirit are you seeking?
Well, most of my knowledge when I was in the library, I focused on reading about two things. How to deal with spirits politely, which I thought would be very crucial. And elemental spirits of nature and the raw elements themselves. Not any of this necessarily.
Which elemental spirits as Verbena is what we deal with the most.
Whether it's spirits of nature or of one of the classical elements. Though
it's incorporated in our magics.
What I was thinking, if I had to pick one eventually, knowing what I know now with the technocracy and all these other threats, let's just put it this way. The next time something big and bad looms on the horizon, it would be nice to have an ace up one's sleeve. Any elemental spirit of sufficient age and strength could be that ace, though I fancy it would take me quite a lot of practice, knowledge, and working my way up the chain to actually ever get to address such a creature, let
You
alone
might
deal
be-
with it.
You might be surprised.
No. What I might, there's any number of spirits that one could talk to, I suppose, but I'm trying to think of a question regarding them that would not be a waste of his time to answer. Perhaps
I'll tell
general
you
advice.
this. I'll
Go
tell
ahead.
you this. The warden does not consider any question asked a waste of his time to answer. The fact that you took the time to think of and ask the question is valuable. There is no such thing as a stupid question.
In principle, I agree with you. In practicality, if I asked something like, why did you stay here, or how old are you, or anything like that, one, that infringes on the first rule.
Well,
Two, it's probably
he is-
information that is there in rumor.
I believe that he is as old as time itself. You're not going to get a straightforward answer on that question.
No, it would be cloaked in the same metaphor that I'm barely tracking to begin with. I really need to
Indeed.
pick up some riddle books.
But we can come back later for you to ask your questions. And
Of
perhaps
course.
as we do things, you might come up with something, especially something that I can't answer.
That's very true. And that's her cue. That's her cue to get very upset. Like, you think there's something I can't answer? No, I'm just kidding.
No, she's not that megalomaniac. Like, she knows
I know.
everything. She just
Yeah, I know. That's going into.
Now,
that's going into.
if she were Arate 5, it would be a different story.
I know all the things. Damn it.
Because she would know all the fucking things. Like,
Yeah.
God. But alas, she is only Arate 2. She understands she still has much to learn. However, what she does know, she's the best at.
Exactly. Well, in that case, I suppose we should just, I don't know, we can discuss a few things. Maybe I can pick up a few basics if I'm to actually pass myself off as, what I am at this point. I would hate to discredit in general, even in a slight regard.
You'll probably want to get some ritual tools.
What sort of, other than sickles and sacrifices?
She'll pull.
I mean,
she has her backpack, and she'll pull it, and she'll pull everything out. She has like this wooden plank that she uses as a portable altar.
Ooh.
And she'll pull out essentially her foci, her athame, some candles. They just very, like, for lack of a better term, the stereotypical ritual tools that you'd find in neo-paganism is essentially the same tools that she's using, except probably on a little bit deeper scale. Like, they're not the frivolous ones. They mean a lot to her. She has an athame that is made of, the handle is made of wood. Traditionally, you have an athame that's wooden or bone handled. And she has candles, salts.
Sorry. I was going to ask.
See what?
OC, just so I can get a broader grasp, because I'm kind of lacking context at this point, because I'm still trying to understand Verbena. What practices does she use?
I'm sorry, you cut out when you asked.
What
does she use?
What practices does she use? Like, theoretically, my character uses chaos magic. And originally he was also going to use alchemy and stuff. That never really came up.
she's
Witchcraft.
yeah, witchcraft.
Okay.
She's the more like, she'll say there are different types that you can use. I prefer the more traditional witchcraft items.
Well, it definitely wouldn't hurt to pick up a few different tricks to, if you permit the term, tricks to study. Broadening one's vocabulary.
She does have. Let me pull up her sheet. I have a list of her foci.
Yay.
Which I need to add to it because she's.
Well, for that, if you want, we can probably go over most of that OC because that's literally just hey, she'd also show him this.
Yeah. Well, okay. So she pulls everything out and she shows him, and and she'll say, what you use is yours. Don't let others obviously use your magical tools.
I would assume that's probably a good idea. I mean, to be fair, there aren't a lot of other people like us in the city, so.
No, there's not, but you don't know what could happen when it falls in the wrong hands. Humans could be a threat as well. Like, you don't want a human picking up your magical tools and trying to use them. So be careful.
That's true, especially if they have some power invested in them. Not that I can do any of that.
Right.
Yet.
And that could yield some unintended consequences in the hands of someone that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yes, and then we have a mutual death coming up. So yes, I'll keep it all very well under lock and key. Don't worry.
Like, I carry mine in my backpack, and I only do magic in certain places. And when I'm at home, of course, it just stays there. I live alone, so I don't have to worry. Well, not quite alone anymore. I have my dear Archimedes here.
Oh, that reminds me. Do you visit this place frequently?
A fair bit since I was introduced to it. It's a good place to meditate and do basic spell work, things like that. I do like coming here.
I should probably point out, and this may be a little late to point this out, but I don't have any issues with the outdoors, but I haven't been camping since I was a teenager. I think that may be a failing in my new vocation. Survival Zero, people!
Not every... It's quite all right. Not everyone has the affinity for nature that I do, especially me. My avatar is of Gaia.
I mean...
And I'm sure he would have noticed, that she has this very, feeling of, oh, this is Mother Nature incarnate with her living legend. So
he hasn't put two and two together on that, but the legend does have an impact on him, especially seeing her here. He's going to be kind of like, well, everyone's got their own avatar. I know that, and it's all what's appropriate for that person.
She seems extremely at home in Kalhaya. Like, this is where she belongs.
There is something else I should probably ask about. You said there are Verbena who do more, well, you said light and dark and a balance. There's people on all ends of that spectrum.
Indeed.
I don't know where I fall in on that. I'm not rushing forward with the idea of, oh, hey, let's do human sacrifice. I get that's not that's
a very rare circumstance when it does happen. There are factions of us that believe in sticking with the very older traditions and will frequently do ritualistic human sacrifice, and even they are looked a bit down upon by the rest of the majority of the tradition.
I mean, like I said, don't get me wrong. I can understand if your back's against a wall and
of course, if it came down to it and I didn't have a choice, I would. Of course I would. I would do anything for my tradition. But it's not something that I engage with on a normal basis. It's not something that I would do just because. There is power in blood.
That I can understand.
And human blood is very powerful. So you have to be careful about where you use it.
Well, it's not like I was planning on donating anyways to the Red Cross.
You can use your own blood in your magic.
I have to think about that. That might be interesting. I also should probably read some texts.
Blood magic. Blood magic is not unheard of. Using your own blood has its own merits.
Well, what do you know about making potions? Is that something that's like?
There are
that's
reasons why classical. Witches tend to carry a blade.
You just kind of blink like, wait, is that connected to the potions question?
No, like she was referring to sacrificing your own blood for different reasons. Like, witches carry a blade for that reason. You never know when you're going to need your blood for something.
Fair enough.
Cut your palm, whatever. Bleed some blood out. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I think there's like a level 1 or 2 prime road that's like. Isn't it like Heart's Blood?
There's Heart's Blood. You use to recover quintessence by dealing a point of lethal damage to yourself, which Christina has, and she does, which is why she's like, your own blood has its merit. Like, that's how she recovers quintessence right now, because she doesn't have a node.
I'm guessing this place is not a node.
I don't. I have to ask Evan if this is actually a place where we could recover quintessence.
We should probably ask Evan at some point, because a place like this probably is powered by one somewhere.
I'm sure, yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have access to it, because it could be anywhere. But anyways,
right, we'll ask. You're a bit robot-y.
Unfortunately, that may be a good cue to end the hangout, because the only way I've been able to fix that in the past is by exiting and re-entering the hangout.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm at a good place where we can end the scene. I have to get going anyway. So.
All right, no problem. In that case, thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And yes, apparently, jumping into a tree is now a thing. Thank you, Verbena. All right, later.